Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. About half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us. We're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Got Jordan Kitchen and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. In 15 minutes, I will update you on LSU's NCAA tournament resume. That feels more relevant today than it did a week ago. Feels maybe more relevant today than it did 2 days ago. I'll give you the sense. I wrote a piece on it on LouisianaSports.net. It's there for free, but we'll talk it through in 15 minutes because I've gotten asked this a good bit, including on Lafayette Radio earlier today. What If Wednesday's coming your way in 30 minutes? If you'd like to ask a question, you can hit us up on Twitter at HuntPalmer88 or on our brand new text line, 225-499-1045 is the text line. We'll read the best 4 or 5 there for What If Wednesday here in 30 minutes. The Saints have invited a player that has some ties to defensive coordinator Staley. We'll talk about that in 45 minutes. Koki Riley's here in an hour. LSU basketball has a player, and our SEC baseball power rankings coming your way in 90 minutes. Plenty to do on this Wednesday. Let's crank it up with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
Well, I asked pretty nicely yesterday during the show, right there at the end, like, can you just give me 6 outs to start the game and maybe let the offense get its feet on the ground? That's all I asked as I departed the airwaves yesterday. And guess what? For 2 innings, LSU got the opponent out. Major hat tip to Danny Lockenmeyer. He gave up 4 hits. A lot of that was in the 3rd inning of work. But for the first 2 innings, he put zeros on the board. LSU goes 6 spot, 3 spot. It's 9-0. That is what midweek baseball should look like a lot of the time. I didn't say it was easy, but LSU's better than these teams, and they're throwing their midweek arms, and you should light them up. And LSU was clinical in the first 2 innings of that baseball game. Yes, Lockenmeyer did give up a 2-out run in the 3rd. Yes, he did. You did give up 2 runs in the 4th. Yeah, there was 2 runs in the 5th. Fontenot got dinged for a homer, and all of a sudden you looked up and it was 9-5. But she got a solo run in the 5th, got a solo run in the 6th. John Pearson smoked one in the 7th. You opened things up 13-5, and LSU coasted to a 13-6 win against Tulane. Look, I'll be honest. I didn't love it when I was at Myers' swim lessons yesterday, and I'm looking at my phone for the lineup, and it pops up via Twitter, and Omar Cerna's not in there. And I didn't love that Jay Johnson said after the game that Omar Cerna's dealing with the back thing. He just couldn't really go. He's been dealing with it and hit great over the weekend. Maybe he's be good this weekend, maybe not. Like, that's not super encouraging. But what LSU did offensively yesterday, what LSU has now really done offensively for 2 weeks, has been encouraging. They were good on offense in Starkville. That's a pretty good staff. LSU hung some numbers on those guys really for 3 days straight outside of Jack Bauer. You come back, you play a midweek game against Southeastern, you do a good job offensively in that game. Then over the weekend, you face an inferior pitching staff in South Carolina, save really Ant Phillips in their Friday night spot, who you tagged pretty good. And LSU scored runs over the weekend, and they continued that in the game against Tulane. Jay Johnson has harped on this over the last 7-8 days, just saying that usually in college baseball, the hitters gain the advantage the later in the schedule. Pitchers get tired, hitters get more at-bats, the weather warms up, it's more conducive to hitting, and usually offense will follow that. And LSU is hitting. I mean, you can just look at the play-by-play from last night, even if you didn't even watch it, and it is just boom, 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 boom. I mean, it started with the Braun walk, which he's doing a ton at this point, and you had the wild pitch. Aaron Beatty just absolutely crushes a ball to center field that goes over the wall. Derek Curiel draws a walk. They've got to go to the bullpen. Milam hooks a double down the right field line. Pearson pumps a double into right center field. Dardar smokes the ball through the left side. What did we talk about the other day when we were talking about what Jay Johnson's looking for in this lineup and why some of the transfers didn't necessarily click? He wants guys that stay on the baseball a long time and hit it the other way. Aaron Beatty homer to center. Pearson double into right center. Dardar smokes a ball to the left side of the infield and threw in for an RBI hit. And then William Patrick grounded out to shortstop for one of the outs in the first inning, and it was over 100 miles an hour off the bat, and the shortstop had to make a miraculous play just to save it from going to the outfield. He made the throw over to first. So that was a really encouraging second inning. And then LSU just piled right back on in the second. Aaron Beatty walked. Curiel hit a double into the right center field gap. Milam once again hooks a double down into right center. Pearson did fly out, but then Dardar singled through the shift on the right side. Ruckert doubled down the line. Like, it was just hard hit ball after hard hit ball after hard hit ball. Good at bat for good at bat for good at bat. And the guys are just seeing it a lot better. Aaron Beatty is absolutely in fuego. I put all of his statistics in a statistically speaking piece at louisianasports.net. It's got a lot of numbers in it if you want to read through that. I'm not going to go through all the numbers right now because it just doesn't play that great on radio, but you know that he's going exceptionally well. His numbers are through the roof. He's up to 15 homers. He's 2 points behind Derek Curiel for the batting average lead on the team. He's blossomed into a star. Milam is doing what Milam does every single May and into June. He's done it for 3 years. This is the third year. He just gets hot, and he hits a ton of extra base hits, a lot of doubles, hit a missile of a home run at Mississippi State. Like, he just gets cooking. Dardar now is back, and he's not healthy, but he's swinging the bat okay. You know that Cerna was going great when he was in there. William Patrick starting to see it better. Jack Ruckert starting to see the ball a little bit better as well. So your lineup's got some length to it. It's not necessarily exactly what we thought it would be. You thought Jake Brown would be right there in the middle of it. You thought Chris Stanfield would be right there in the middle of it. You figured that Zach York and or Braden Simpson, Trent Caraway would be in the middle of it, and they're not. But some of these young guys are really doing a great job. And I don't know that Mason Braun is producing as much for his batting average. He just is getting on base time and time and time and time again, which he did over the weekend. He did again last night. Like, he only got one hit. It was a double, but he walked twice and was hit by a pitch. He got on base 4 times. He just is consistently doing that from that top spot, and it's fantastic to see. Every single starter in LSU's lineup last night had a hit. 7 of the 9 had multiple hits. Everyone in the lineup got on base multiple times last night. That's just very good consistency and what you should be doing in the midweek. And Jay Johnson said something last night that I basically said yesterday on the airwaves. It's not what everybody wants to hear, and it may cost them. We're not suggesting to just completely sweep it under the rug. But to insinuate that this team was terrible in the midweek is just not really true. They were terrible for 8 days in the midweek when they got beat by McNeese, and then they came back and got beat by ULL, and then the next night came out and got beat by Northeastern on a Monday. Like, they were terrible for 8 days. And then they came back and they handled their business. Yes, Bethune-Cookman got them. Absolutely. But over the last 9 weeks of the season, they only lost that one midweek game. Some of them were ugly. Like, I didn't like falling behind Grambling or Southern or whoever it was 6-0. Can't even remember. That doesn't look very good. Yeah, they made too many errors in the midweek. Like, there were some of the play that wasn't great, but they held their own in the non-conference. More often than not, I shouldn't say that. That was presumptive. That was too much. They did not hold their own for the entirety of the season in the non-conference because you lost 2 to Sacramento State and you did lose your 4 midweek. So you did lose more than I would like to keep the non-conference losses to 4 if you can. Like, that's the target. You can lose 4 non-cons. So like 2 in the first 4 weeks and 2 total in the midweek. That's really good. At that point, your SEC schedule is going to tell your entire story. But you dump more than that, like 2 more than that, and it may ding you 8 spots in the RPI, and that's kind of where you sit. And we'll do the resume thing here in a second. But they've really done a good job later in the season in the midweek. By the time they got to conference play, they dropped 1 midweek game. It was to Bethune-Cookman, who's got a decent team, and they played great that night. They hit the ball all over the yard. and LSU couldn't keep up, and they just lost that game. Bethune-Cookman went out and smashed Florida the next week too. But they did a good job last night, and they're playing better. There's no doubt they're playing better. The young guys have grown up a little bit. Some of these older guys are white hot. John Pearson's back in the lineup, which is great. It's good to see Jack Ruckert with 2 more hits. He's getting a little bit more confident. They're playing better defense. They did not make an error last night. There's a pass ball that was scored a wild pitch that Aaron Beatty should have made the play on. He also made a ridiculous play on that foul pop-up at the screen that was really good. He made a really nice play to back pick a runner at first base. He made a great throw down to second base to cut down a runner stealing. Like, he made 3 really good plays. He made 1 bad play. He's not perfect back there, but he is making some improvements. And it just goes to show the talent level that Cade Aaron Beatty has that we talked about, or that I certainly talked about in the fall and in January. Like, he is as talented a catcher as LSU has had in this program in a very, very long time. Very long time. I mean, his talent level is better than Brady Neal. It's better than Hayden Travinski or Alex Milano. It's better than Luis Hernandez. It's better than even Micah Gibbs. It's better than Michael Papierski. It's just, he's a more talented player than those guys when you couple bat to ball, power, arm, agility, like all these things that are tangible tools. He's the best in a very long time. I would hesitate to go all the way back to Brad Cressy, who wasn't a good defensive catcher, but the physical gifts as far as the offensive side of things were otherworldly, and I'm not going to put Aaron Beatty in that category just yet. But like in terms of physical tools, you want to go back 20 years, he's as gifted as they come, and he is continuing to show that. He is white hot. He did strike out 3 times last night, but the damage he did in the other spots was impressive, and he got on base 3 times, had a homer, and had a single. So it was a good night for LSU. Do I want Grant Fontenot to give up a homer? Not really, but I'm thrilled that Devin Sheeran didn't get in the ballgame. I'm thrilled Gavin Guidry didn't get in the ballgame. I think that Jay Johnson was able to use his pitching staff as he would like to use them, and LSU will now go to Athens on Friday ready to play the Friday game. And if Schmidt's good and you swing the bats pretty good against, I guess you're going to see Volchko in that game, and you've got a chance to win it, you'll have your guys ready. If Georgia takes it to you early in that game and you don't have a chance to win it, you need to pitch off to have your guys ready to try to win games 2 and 3, you'll have that opportunity. You're not going to have to sit anybody on a Friday based on what happened on Tuesday. That's the ideal situation for LSU to be in. That's the situation that LSU is in leaving that game. So solid work last night. Not a season saver by any stretch, but solid work. And now you go to Athens with a lot of work to do. What work do they have to do? Well, you kind of get a sense, but I'll put some numbers on it and some historical context on where LSU sits right now and how they can make the NCAA tournament and what you need to be watching this weekend and next weekend in the Southeastern Conference. So we'll do that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com, HighlandIG.com. Jonathan Carbo and his team would love to help you with your commercial property and casualty needs on the insurance side. They can absolutely do it. They can also help you with group and employee benefits. They understand at the Highland Insurance Group just how frustrating some of those renewals can be. If you have just gotten beaten into submission by your group employee benefits renewals, contact the Highland Insurance Group. Get a second set of eyes. You need to have quality benefits, quality health care, quality dental, quality vision. You need to have that to attract quality employees and to keep them happy and employed with you. If you're not able to do that because your premiums are through the roof or because your benefits are not very good and you're getting complaints, let the Howard Insurance Group take a look at it. They're an independent broker. They're very capable of shopping and looking around at different carriers to make sure you're in the right place as a business. So if your group and employee benefits renewal is coming up, or if you just had an unpleasant one and you just like to have a conversation about what could change moving forward for your business, because it's an expensive deal, the Highland Insurance Group is happy to help you with that. Check them out online at HighlandIG.com, HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
tell you about Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. SwingEasyGCBR.com is that website. Again, SwingEasyGCBR.com. But don't just go to the website. I mean, you can, but go to Swing Easy Golf Club. It's on Segan at Perkins. Back in the shopping center, you'll see it. Big signage up there. And go on in. You'll see the front desk there to the left. See comfortable seating area right there and the television. And then they tell you which bay to go back to. And you walk in, you got couches, chairs, got the turtle box there. You see the golf simulator, big and bold right up front, television there for you to crank on. And you can work on your game. You can hang out with 5, 8, 10 people, socialize, play Pebble Beach, take mulligans, try to make a hole-in-one. I sat there for 4 hours one Sunday, tried to make a hole-in-one. I didn't. Maybe you're better than me. You can do that. But your opportunities are kind of endless there. You can kind of do whatever it is that you want to do. Also, if you're a business owner and you've got maybe a small sales team and you want to go have a company outing there, you can do it at Swing Easy Golf Club. It's a great place to factor in golf with a little bit of social, a couple drinks, television, tunes, indoors, weather independent. It's an awesome spot. It's right there on Segan at Perkins. Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. SwingEasyGCBR.com. All right. Let's do this for the first time all year because we haven't had any reason to do this for all year. By the time it was time to start looking at resumes, LSU was in complete free fall. And they're still in a bad spot, but they're not in free fall because they've won 5 games in a row. And now you're sitting here with 6 games to go against really good teams and an opportunity. But I want to be very, very clear, like currently. And I don't think this is news to anyone, but it does, I think, need to be said based on the tone and tenor of some of the text messages and questions I've gotten. LSU is not on the tournament bubble. LSU is not really all that close to the tournament bubble because you're sitting here right now and just like listen to this out loud. Your RPI is in the 50s. You're in 14th place in the SEC. You have 5 quad 4 losses. And your record in quad 1 is 4-13. You are not close. So how do you get close? Well, you got to win games, and the only games you got left are Georgia and Florida in the SEC tournament. And we already know that. So if LSU goes out there and wins 2 of the next 6, like we're obviously not having this discussion. So that's not part of this discussion. You go 3-3, you're in big trouble. You better go nuts in Hoover. This really all just starts with 4-2. It starts with 4-2. Because if you go 4-2, all of a sudden your quad 1 record, you've got 8 wins instead of 4. Your RPI is going to climb up into the 40s, close to 40, and you will likely move up in the Southeastern Conference. And now all of a sudden, that does change the resume. So you already know that. You already know that LSU needs to go on the road and handle some business against Georgia, and then come home against Florida and handle some business there, and then go to Hoover and see where your die is cast. But there's some historical context I want to get to, and some peers that LSU has in the SEC that I think are relevant moving forward if you'd like to monitor that as well. With the understanding that the baseline here is like LSU's got to handle its business. But there is more to this equation if they do. Last year, the SEC got 13 teams in. I just told you LSU's in 14th in the SEC. Last year, the SEC got 13 of 16 teams in. It was the first year that the SEC had 16 teams. 13 got in. A&M didn't. South Carolina didn't. Missouri didn't. 13 others did. Before that, it was a 14-team league. You didn't have Texas or Oklahoma. 2024, 11 of 14 got in. 2023, 10 of 14 got in. 2022, 2021, 9 of 14. I believe the more relevant history is the more recent history. Why do I believe that? Because we all understand in this era of revenue sharing, name, image, and likeness, and transfer portal, by far and away, the biggest stockpile of talent is in the Southeastern Conference. I think Coastal Carolina deserves a ton of credit for last year and this year. A ton of credit. Schnall's done a great job. Fluky's a stud. They deserve a ton of credit. But besides Coastal Carolina last year, you're talking about in the title series, LSU, A&M, Tennessee, Florida, LSU, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt. Okay? They're all in the same league. That's why the SEC got 13 teams in last year. That's why the SEC got 11 of 14 in the year before that. That's why it's grown, because everyone is kind of on the same page here. The Pac-12 doesn't exist anymore. Those teams are flailing away in the Big Ten. UCLA literally doesn't even lose in the Big Ten. The SEC's taken the best two programs from the Big 12, and you've just got this superpower in the SEC. So you're going to get some benefit of the doubt for being an SEC team, and I think there's a realistic chance that 12 teams get in. 13's a lot. Maybe let's call it 12. So LSU needs to be in the top 12 of the SEC, not only in standing, but in resume. Does that make sense to everybody? You need to be in the top 12, okay? So you're kicking Missouri out. That's one. You're kicking South Carolina out. That's two. So now you've got to beat two other teams in terms of your resume. This is not everything, but I think it's the best conversation to have right now. I don't think it's a good time right now for us to talk about resumes from the ACC, Big 12, Big 10, the Sun Belt. That's too much for a team that right now, as I just told you at the top of the show, at the top of the segment, they're not on the bubble right now. But you got to pass two more teams. You passed Missouri, you passed South Carolina. They're not getting in, they're done. You got to pass two more teams. Well, who's right in front of you right now? Well, it's Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has one game ahead of you in the SEC. You're 9-15, they're 10-14. So they got a one-game lead on you. But here's the deal. Vanderbilt's RPI is trash. You think LSU's is bad at 55? Vanderbilt's is 68. And they are going to have a really hard time helping their RPI. Now, there's a caveat to this. There's a reason they're going to have a hard time helping their RPI. It's because they play the worst two teams in the league. They're at Missouri this week, and they play South Carolina. Now, if they go 4-2, they're probably cooked. They're a 14-16 team with an RPI in the 60s, a terrible quad one record. They're probably not going to get in. Vanderbilt's got to go win a lot of games. Now, everyone beats Missouri and everyone beats South Carolina, so they probably will. But if Vanderbilt loses two games in the next 6, they're probably cooked. That's one team that'll be behind you. Even if you don't get to 14 wins and you're at 13 and they beat you 2 out of 3, their resume is terrible. Their RPI is bad. Their strength of schedule is bad. Their quad one record's bad, and they're not going to help any of that in the next 2 weeks. Now, they can go win 6 games and be 16-14 in the SEC, sweep those 2 series. They're in. No doubt. You need to pull against Vanderbilt. Pull against Vanderbilt. Kentucky's next. Now, Kentucky is 2 games ahead of you in the SEC. They're 11-13. You're 9-15. They're 2 games ahead of you. Their RPI is 21 spots better than yours. LSU's at 55. Kentucky's at 34. So Kentucky is 2 games ahead of you and 21 spots ahead of you in the RPI. That's intimidating. But their strength of schedule's bad, and their quad one's a little light. They're 6-6. Now, what does Kentucky have left? Here's where it gets interesting. They're at Florida this weekend. That's an RPI helper. LSU knows that. They play Florida at the end. But you could get beat. And then they play Arkansas in Lexington to end it. Those are talented teams. If Kentucky loses their last 2 series, oh, by the way, Kentucky lost a series to Missouri, lost a series to Vanderbilt, lost a series to South Carolina, and lost a series to you. So if you perform for 2 weeks and Kentucky does not against Florida and Arkansas, you can pass Kentucky. That's the fastest roadmap. You're already past Missouri. You're already past South Carolina. You need to pass Vanderbilt. You need to pass Kentucky. Vanderbilt's resume stinks. Kentucky's schedule is difficult. Now, yours is difficult too. Probably more difficult. But we're already baking into this conversation. LSU's got to take advantage of their opportunities. The other team to look at is Tennessee. You beat Tennessee there on the road. Tennessee's got a better resume than LSU. They're 2 games clear of LSU in the SEC. Their RPI is 20 points better, and Tennessee's quad one record is 10-8. LSU is 4-13. So that's not close. You would need Tennessee to just die down the stretch. They've got Texas this weekend in Knoxville. Texas can go there and win 3 games. That happens, changes the discussion. Then they go to Oklahoma, who I don't think is very good. But you never know. It's a baseball series. Vanderbilt and Kentucky are the teams LSU needs to pass. Tennessee's right there lurking. You do that, you're in decent shape. It all really, really, really comes down to LSU taking care of its business, but there are other factors here because I can paint you a picture of LSU getting to 13 wins and not getting in. That has happened before. It happened to LSU in 2011. Teams with 13 wins are not a slam dunk to get in. I promise you Vanderbilt is not a slam dunk to get in at 13 wins. In fact, I promise you Vanderbilt will not get in the NCAA tournament with 13 SEC games winning this year. They've got 10 right now, and their last two are Missouri and South Carolina. You go 3-3 over those two with an RPI in the 60s, forget about it. So 13 is not a golden ticket. But I also do not see eye to eye with those who say that LSU getting to 13 is definitely not good enough. I crunch these numbers at this time every year. I like doing it. I think it's fascinating. It's not black and white. There is some nuance to it, and I would never purport to be some sort of expert in it. I think I understand it well, and I think I can speak relatively simply into how things are baking out. So if I were to look at this right now and put a bow on it before we get to What If Wednesday here, LSU's in a bad spot right now. They're in a bad spot. There is a path through this. And it starts with finding a way to win 2 baseball games in Athens this weekend. If LSU wins 2 baseball games in Athens this weekend, and I take a quick peek at their metrics and the SEC results from this coming weekend, I bet my discussion's very different on Monday. Very different. You still have a lot of work to do, but it's very different on Monday. That's just what they got to do. I don't think that's news to anybody, but if you'd like to read about it, see the numbers in front of your face, they're all kind of strategically put together so that it's easy to digest and read, and you'd like to read about it and feel like as you're driving around, some of these numbers are scrambled in your head. I get that. It's all there for free at LouisianaSports.net on the front page. Go in there and check that out for me. We always appreciate y'all for reading us at LouisianaSports.net. You have an opportunity to get involved with What If Wednesday here. Text us, 225-499-1045. Text us, 225-499-1045. If you got a good what if for us coming up here in the next segment, we will get to it. It's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com, FabryChevrolet.com. Every car that's on the lot is online at FabryChevrolet.com, FabryChevrolet.com. Fabry Chevrolet GMC is on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. They got great deals on trucks. If you're looking for a Chevy Silverado, up to $11,000 off MSRP. Talking about GMC Sierra, up to $13,000 off MSRP or 0.0 APR financing. Maybe a great time to get behind the wheel of a new truck. I promise you'll have a wonderful buying experience there at Fabry. They've been doing this for 35 years in Baton Rouge. Their reputation is sterling for a reason because they treat their customers the way they want to be treated. They have great service after the sale as well. Make that short drive. Highway 61 in St. Francisville. See that incredible inventory they've got new. They've also got certified pre-owned as well. It's all online at FabryChevrolet.com on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. It's Fabry Chevrolet GMC.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Our Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools, built by Renaissance.com. Built by Renaissance.com is that website. Just give my guy Joey Blanchard a text message. 225-252-7745. That's 225-252-7745. That's how you start the process. You text the owner of the company, say, hey, I'd love to talk about a pool. Love to talk about an outdoor kitchen. I'm trying to build my forever home. Can you help me? Renaissance Homes and Pools can absolutely do it. They've got this incredible software that allows you to design your pool, your outdoor entertainment area, foot by foot, exactly to your specifications. If you're somebody that knows exactly what you want, start that process with Joey. If you're somebody who has no idea, you just want a pool and would like something that looks nice and a great place to host, he can do that for you too. They've got ideas. You can find them online at builtbyrenaissance.com or text Joey, 225-252-7745. Renaissance Homes and Pools brings you our Wednesday shows each and every week. All right, time for What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
All right, so what if the recent injuries to LSU baseball hadn't occurred and those who have stepped up were not given the opportunity they have currently?
Okay, well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
William Patrick is out there because of injury. He would not be playing right field if Jake Brown didn't get hurt. I would rather have Jake Brown than William Patrick, so I think you've gotten a little bit worse there. However, Stanfield's injury did allow opening time in left field, and maybe Patrick plays there while Stanfield is out, and you lessen some playing time for Eddie Yaman, who's played some left field, Tanner Reeves, who's played in left field, and I would rather have William Patrick out there than them. So he probably gets a shot to play. It wouldn't be a slam dunk like it was when Brown got out and you didn't have Stanfield either, so you didn't have a choice. But the other injuries, I don't know, have necessarily been deciding factors. Like Mason Braun is playing first base because Zach York's been sat down. Like that's a guy that's just been put on the bench. Jack Ruckert, yeah, maybe got a chance because Dardar got hurt. Like I guess you would suggest that, but like he could have played third too, and that was because Caraway and Simpson haven't really performed. So it's been part of it's been injuries. Part of it's been underperformance by the transfer class. And so I think that ultimately those guys probably would have gotten to the field one way or another, maybe just not in the exact position they were. Maybe instead of right for Patrick, it's left with Stanfield getting hurt. Maybe instead of second for Ruckert, it's third some way or another because those guys weren't performing. But yeah, the point stands. Like LSU's had a ton of roster turnover on this team because of the underperformance and the injuries that have just compounded to bring a team that I could not have possibly forecasted to you in January that's out there right now. Just couldn't have.
All right, so what if Ryan Kucharak, Ryan Costello, and Mikey Ryan were to enter the transfer portal again? Would LSU invite them back?
I have no idea about that. I don't know how those relationships ended. It's impossible to tell.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not a common thing for players to transfer and then transfer right back. It does happen at times. We've seen it in multiple different places. But look, Mikey Ryan's having a great year at NC State. Ryan Costello is not hitting for a high average. He's got a nice home run total. I think at last I checked, it was 13, which is a nice home run total, but it's in the Big Ten. And we're all well aware that the Big Ten is not even on the same planet as the SEC. It's just it's like one is playing on the moon, one's playing on planet Earth. And the same thing goes for Kucharak, who's at Northwestern, who's had a good go of it. I just pulled his stats up in the break because I saw that text was coming in. I mean, over the course of 2 seasons, he's hit 290 with 28 home runs.
Okay.
He hit 18 home runs last year. That's a really good go of it at Northwestern, no question about it. And I'm sure that there's a part of Jay Johnson that wishes he had some of those guys he identified out of high school as opposed to some of the transfers that have brought in for 1 year. I have no idea if they'd have any interest in coming back at all. I know that you're looking at an infield that does return Jack Ruckert next year, that does potentially return Ethan Claus next year, that does probably return John Pearson next year, that does probably return Mason Braun on the infield next year. And we'll see what happens with Stephen Milam. That was addressed earlier today in a press conference. I wasn't there. I saw some tweets about, potentially Jay giving up his number 2 so Milam could wear that next year. I don't know if that was said in jest or if that was a real talking point. I have no idea. But there's going to be a lot of competition in the offseason for playing time at LSU. And I'm confident that Jay Johnson feels particularly strongly about his high school recruiting, seeing the impact that Stephen Milam has had, the impact that Jake Brown has had, the impact that Cade Arambidi has had, Mason Braun, Omar Cerna. Like, these are the stars of the past few years. Yes, no question. Tommy White, incredible. No question. Michael Braswell, very impactful. No question. Like, they've had guys like Danny Dickinson that have made huge impacts. Chris Stanfield is a guy that Jay Johnson loves, and I think they're going to continue to use the transfer portal, but I think he really trusts his high school evaluation, and those are guys that he identified out of high school that have moved on. So we'll see.
All right, so what if LSU basketball is the Indiana football of 2024 this year?
That'll be really fun because they'll win a natty. Or 2024.
No,
when they got
2024,
to the playoff.
yeah.
That'd be great. I mean, if that means they get to the final 8 or so, I think that'd be awesome. I certainly am not going to bet on that right now, but we're going to talk about the player that they added into the program
There you go.
in the second hour. So we like that. That would be great. I would love for LSU basketball to be really good. It's a crowded place over there right now, trying to have everybody happy with their roster assembly ability. But if they were able to do that, that'd be a lot of fun in this town.
All right, so these are coming from the text line. What if Ethan Fry stayed another year?
I mean, he'd hit 360 with 18 homers. I mean, they would really like him. He'd be
Useful?
DHing, playing some left field right now, and he might play some right field right now. He was awesome. He was another high school guy that Jay Johnson identified, brought in. He said his freshman year when Fry wasn't even playing, like, this guy could be an All-American here, and he was that good. He signed for $1 million out of school last year as a junior, and if he'd have come back, he'd be a huge cog to this thing. They're probably a pitcher short to be what they wanted to be this year, and then you get 2 of your weekend guys hurt.
Yeah.
But as far as the lineup goes, like, they've turned into something pretty good right now. Now, I understand the pitching, but the pitching was pretty good in Starkville, and they tagged it, and they came home and tagged it in the midweek, and they lit South Carolina up, and they did it again last night. So they found something offensively, which is generally what happens, and Fry would be a pretty big part of that.
All right, so what if Texas A&M wouldn't have obliterated LSU at home last season? Maybe no Kiffin, Burgess AD, or no Will Wade?
Yeah, we talked about that. When Wade showed up, I said you could draw a straight line right here to the A&M second half, because the A&M second half was the governor's spot to get rid of an athletic director he didn't like. So he did that. And then they got rid of the football coach was gone, and they put the people in place to get the football coach, and then by design got the basketball coach over, and that was the big puppet show. And that door doesn't open if you don't get dusted by A&M. You win that game against A&M, the governor can't go into a press conference and go nuts about the athletic director.
Yeah.
But now he could, because they got dusted. So there's no question about that, because Will Wade said in that podcast that we talked about yesterday, he was not going to come here without Wade Roos and without Heath Schroyer. So it's a direct line from that second half.
That's a crazy domino effect. We're going to be talking about that 10 years from now. Like, that's a crazy domino effect.
Yep.
So what if they had the ABS system for Aaron Beatty's at-bat in the top of the ninth at Tennessee when I witnessed the most egregious strike 3 call I've ever seen? Huge spot, and he's on fire.
Yeah, but we won the game. So it's okay. Jay got ejected. Cade hit a homer.
That was it. Okay.
It was Easter Sunday. So, it would have been changed, but the outcome's not any different because LSU won the game. So we'll take that one. I'm sure Jay's okay with that ejection. I think that all went okay.
All right, well, that's it for What If Wednesday.
All right, that's it for What If Wednesday. On this Wednesday, the Saints are working out a familiar face, not to the organization, but to the defensive coordinator, and it's a spot that we talked about yesterday with Sharif Ishak. So we'll talk about that to close out the hour next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust, FABT.com. First American Bank and Trust. Been at this since 1910. That is 116 years ago, and they have grown and grown and grown to 25 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana. That means there's always one near you, whether you're the I-12 corridor with St. Tammany, Tangipahoa, maybe you're closer to Baton Rouge, Dutchtown, Jones Creek, maybe you're down the bayou, St. John, Lafourche, Terrebonne. No matter where you are, there's a First American Bank and Trust near. If you need a commercial loan, First American Bank and Trust. If you need a residential loan, First American Bank and Trust. The people that are making the decisions on those loans, on your future, on your business, are local people from right here in Southeast Louisiana. That means something. And don't just think of them as a little community bank. No, 25 locations. They've got the resources those big national banks do. They can help you out with those commercial loans. It's First American Bank and Trust. Stop by one today. Check out the website, FABT.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Our friends over at Oxshire want to remind you that May is National Stroke Awareness Month. There's an acronym for National Stroke Awareness Month. It's BFAST: balance, eyes, face, arms, speech, and time. If you're evaluating somebody who may be having a stroke, are they unable to maintain balance? Is their vision affected with the eyes, or the eyes deviated to one side? With the face, does one side droop or is it numb? With the arms, is one arm weak or numb? Speech, is it slurred? Time. If a person shows any of these symptoms, even if the symptoms go away, call 911, get them to a hospital immediately. There are some things you can do to help try to prevent strokes. Control your blood pressure. That's very, very important. High blood pressure is a major risk factor if left untreated. Manage your cholesterol levels. Get regular exercise if you can. Get treatment for circulation problems. And avoid alcohol. Stop smoking if you do. Friends at Oxygen want to remind you to be fast. It's Stroke Awareness Month all May long. All right, the Saints are continuing to kind of look for odds and ends on their roster. The meat and potatoes, if you will, is there. You're still trying to add here and there. Depth is never a bad thing in the National Football League. We know what kind of a war of attrition it can become in October, November, into December. Just the injuries are everywhere. And we talked to Sharif Ishak yesterday. One of these spots he said that he would love for the Saints to look is in the defensive backfield. And I think that's absolutely reasonable, especially at corner. You did not do a lot to address that in the draft. You went and took a 7th rounder out of Iowa. So you're not necessarily restocking the shelves at an elite level there at corner. And I wouldn't suggest the name that they're trying out would fit that bill either. But there are some things I like about JT Woods, and that's someone that the Saints have brought in here. He was a 3rd-round pick of the Chargers back in the 2022 draft. And, of course, we know who was in charge of that at the time. Brandon Staley was there in Los Angeles. And JT Woods has not been an impactful player in the National Football League. He's played in 13 games. He played 10 games in his first year in 2022. He played 3 games in 2023. Since then, he's bounced around on practice squads. Bears in 24, Seahawks and Raiders in 25, ended up with the Jets in 25 as well. And now you're looking at 2026, and you're looking at me, you're going, Hunt, why in the world would the Saints have serious interest in a guy that has not played in an NFL game in the last 2 seasons and has been a pretty non-impactful player? Well, it's the same reason he keeps getting brought into organizations. JT Woods was a 3rd-round pick out of Baylor because he's over 6'2". His pre-draft 40 time was a 4.36, and his vertical is 30.9 inches. He simply has some things that you cannot teach: length, speed, and athleticism. And he's not old. He's 25, going to be 26. So I feel like this is a reasonable person to bring in. It's clearly going to be cheap if you try to bring him in. And he's got some attributes that you just can't find everywhere. There just aren't that many 6'2" corners. There are less 6'2" corners that run 4.36 and that have a 39-plus inch vertical. So it's clearly a player that your coaching staff has a relationship with. There are a lot of great measurables. And I look at the Saints' defensive backfield and I say, I'm not bringing in JT Woods to be my starting corner. I'm not bringing him in to challenge Kool-Aid McKinstry. I'm not bringing him in to challenge in the slot. I'm bringing him in because I need depth. I need bodies. And this is a guy who, at 26 years old, still a freak athlete. And if Brandon Staley liked him then, and if he didn't see anything over those 2 years that he spent with him to definitively rule him out of there, like, yeah, give it a look. It's a workout. Sign him in. Bring him on the practice squad. He can certainly be a gunner on kickoffs, help you on some special teams units. And if there are injuries on your defensive secondary, he can be a guy that potentially could plug in and play. I mean, it's depth at safety, depth at slot corner, depth at nickel. Just bring in some depth. I like it. He's not challenging Jonas Sanker, I don't think. He's not stealing Justin Reed's job. But he's a secondary player with elite length, elite size, elite speed. I think it's worth a swing. That's my read on it. It's a slow time in the National Football League right now. You're trying to find diamonds in the rough here or there. It's rare that you find a guy that has not been impactful for 2 years that bursts on the scene. I'm not really looking for a burst on the scene. I'm looking for attributes that can help. And I think that there are enough organizations that have taken a swing on JT Woods to suggest that, one, it's attractive when he comes in for a workout, and two, it may not be the ideal fit. But I think it's a good player to bring in and work out based on all of the factors that are there. So we'll see if anything comes of it. I don't expect anything significant there, but the Saints have brought in JT Woods for a workout, and we'll see if he can add a little depth to that secondary for a very, very affordable cost at this point in the calendar. You can find our Saints coverage at Hunt on Saints. You can also find Ross Jackson's great work at louisianasports.net. Everything there is for free right now on the homepage at louisianasports.net. We've got a ton of stuff. I know the Saints stuff is popping off. Y'all can't get enough of that. LSU added a basketball player, a commitment earlier today. We're going to talk about that in hour number 2, but I wrote that up for louisianasports.net. If you missed our segment earlier today on the show about LSU's postseason resume in baseball, I've got a really easily digestible piece up on the website, louisianasports.net right now. It's got how LSU stacks up with the other teams in the Southeastern Conference. Ross is profiling the undrafted free agents over there with the Saints. LSU basketball has brought in a new director of player development, Jay Smith. There's a story up on that. JVR Suggs, former LSU player, is an undrafted free agent for the Saints, and Ross is covering that as well. Plus, I've got to look at Cade Arambede's unbelievable surge late in this season in a statistically speaking piece that is there. If you'd like to just read our Saints stuff, go to the team tab, hit Saints. Like to read our LSU stuff, go to the team tab, hit LSU. It's all right there for free at louisianasports.net. Our Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. They're online at builtbyrenaissance.com. We got a ton to do in hour number 2. Koki Riley going to be with us in 5 minutes. He was at the box last night, met with Jay Johnson earlier. I want to talk about Stephen Milam and the injury to Omar Cerna. We'll do that. Plus, got some SEC baseball power rankings, bottom of the hour.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Gotro's Outdoor Power. Gotro's Outdoor Power. Had a chance to chat with my guy Gant Gotro earlier today. They're rocking and rolling over there at Gotro's Outdoor Power. Just got an unbelievable inventory of Hustler products at their 2 locations, one on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge. I promise, if you drive by that location and just look over to the side, you'll see this mountain of orange. That's the inventory. It's the largest Hustler inventory in the state by far, and it's there at Gotro's Outdoor Power. Looking for the largest parts inventory? They got that as well. Their delivery trucks are up and running every single day, 8 hours a day. So if you need parts, they got them. You need a trailer to get your new zero-turn mower to your property, they got them. We're talking about weather heating up, rain coming down. You got to cut that grass. Need something to do it. You got zero-turn mowers from our friends at Gotro's Outdoor Power. Go see them on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge. Go see them in Gonzales. 2 locations, family-owned and operated. It's Gotro's Outdoor Power online at gotrosonline.com.